I freeze, coffee mug suspended halfway to my lips, as Carol's Facebook post fills my screen. My thumb hovers over the family photos, unable to move as my brain struggles to process what I'm seeing. Everyone is there. Mom, Dad, Tyler, Brittany, and her family. Aunt Jean from Florida. Even cousin Mark, who rarely leaves his basement apartment. They're gathered around the fireplace at my parents' lake house, arms draped over shoulders, faces flushed with laughter and belonging. Everyone except me. I set my mug down before my trembling hand betrays me. The ceramic makes a hollow sound against the granite countertop, like an echo in an empty room. December family reunion 2024. So blessed to have everyone together. Carol's caption mocks me from my phone. I zoom in on Tyler's face, catching the unmistakable smugness in his expression. He knew I wasn't invited. They all knew. My gaze drifts to the refrigerator where my calendar hangs, the date circled in red. Family reunion, the 15th of December. Yesterday, the day I'd been waiting for, preparing for, the day that apparently happened without me. A memory surfaces unbidden. My cramped studio apartment during senior year, the flickering light above my desk as I worked on coding projects until 3 in the morning before heading to my barista job at 5. The contrast of my parents' comfortable suburban home, with its manicured lawn and updated kitchen, always lingered in my mind. I didn't mind the struggle. It was building something that mattered. The day I landed my position at Meridian Tech, Dad had been polite but distracted. Mom had asked if it came with health insurance. Tyler had snorted and asked if I'd be playing with computers all day. Only I understood what it meant. Financial security, finally. I remember the first support check I wrote them. My hands had shaken then too, but with pride. I'd framed a copy of it before sending the original, proof that their daughter had made it. $200,000 later, I stand in my kitchen, staring at people who didn't think to include me in their holiday gathering. I take a deep breath and open my banking app, the numbers confirming what I already know. The monthly transfer to my parents processed 3 days ago. As always, without fail. My resolve hardens as I move with deliberate purpose. First, the screenshots of Carol's post saved to my phone. Then, the bank statements printed neatly from my home office. Each monthly transfer of the past 5 years. The extra payments, Tyler's car, when he totaled his previous one. Brittany's emergency dental work. The new roof for my parents' house. I slide everything into a folder, pressing it closed with a firm click. In my bathroom, I smooth my hair and apply lipstick with precision. The woman in the mirror looks calm, controlled, prepared. Not this time, I tell her quietly. The drive to my parents' home takes 23 minutes. I know because I've made this journey countless times, usually responding to some urgent need or manufactured crisis. The same house I helped refinance when Dad's commission-only sales job hit a slump 3 years ago. Headlights illuminate the familiar mailbox, the one I paid to replace last spring. I park behind Tyler's BMW vehicle that wouldn't exist without my monthly contributions to his temporary financial shortfall that has somehow lasted 4 years. The scent of roasted turkey greets me as I enter without knocking. They're already seated around the dining table, the good china gleaming under the chandelier. My mother looks up, surprise briefly crossing her face before she smiles. "Lauren, honey, I didn't know you were coming for dinner tonight." "Thought I'd surprise you," I say, hanging my coat carefully on the rack. "Hope there's enough food." "Always room for one more," Dad says without looking up from his plate. He's wearing the watch I bought him for his birthday, the one he called too extravagant before accepting it anyway. Tyler snickers into his wine glass. "Yeah, surprised to see you away from your computer on a weeknight. No emergencies at work?" "Not tonight," I reply, taking the empty seat next to Brittany, who immediately shifts slightly away. Mom serves me a generous portion of green bean casserole, my least favorite dish, despite mentioning it every holiday for the past decade. "So," Brittany says, "Tyler just put a deposit down on a lakefront property. It's an investment opportunity, very exclusive." I nod, cutting my turkey into precise pieces. Sounds expensive. Tyler puffs up visibly. "Well, you know what they say. You have to spend money to make money." Dad launches into a complaint about the property tax increase, absent-mindedly adjusting his watch. I let the conversation flow around me, waiting for the perfect moment. When there's a natural lull, I set down my fork and ask with practiced casualness, "How was the family reunion yesterday?" The silence that descends is absolute. 5 pairs of eyes fix on me, expressions ranging from shock to discomfort toying Tyler's case on disguised amusement. "What reunion?" Mom asks, her voice pitched slightly too high. I reach for my water glass, taking a deliberate sip. "The one at the lake house. The one Aunt Carol posted about on Facebook this morning." Tyler smirks. "Oh, that reunion. Yeah, it was yesterday." Brittany jumps in, her voice syrupy sweet. "Oh my God, Mom, you didn't tell Lauren? Oops." Mom glances nervously at Dad, who clears his throat authoritatively. "Must have slipped our minds," he says, waving his fork dismissively. "You're always working anyway. Wouldn't have expected you to make it." I place my phone on the table, screen up, Carol's post clearly visible. Funny, since it's been on my calendar for months. "Lauren," Mom begins, her tone shifting to the one she uses when she wants something. "Don't make a big deal out of nothing. It was just a small gathering." 27 people, I say, scrolling through the photos. Every family member except me. Tyler rolls his eyes. "So dramatic. It's just a stupid reunion." I open my purse and withdraw the folder, placing it next to my phone. The table falls silent again as I flip it open, revealing the neatly organized bank statements. "If I'm not important enough to invite," I say, my voice steady despite the thunder of my heartbeat, "then you don't need my money either." Tyler's laugh slices through the silence, too loud and hollow against the dining room walls. "You're kidding, right?" His eyes dart to my folder, then back to my face. "This is just some dramatic little show." "It was a misunderstanding, Lauren," Brittany says, scooting her chair closer to mine, her hand reaching for my arm. I shift just enough that her fingers grasp empty air. "We thought you were busy. You know how you always are." Mom's eyes begin to glisten, the tears forming right on cue. "You can't do this to your family," she whispers, voice trembling with practiced precision. Dad sets his fork down with a deliberate clink against the good china I paid to replace last Christmas, when Mom mentioned how embarrassed she was by the chipped edges of her mother's set. "That's enough, Lauren," he says, summoning the stern father voice that stopped working on me years ago. "You're overreacting." I don't respond immediately. Instead, I open my purse and pull out the folder with steady hands. One by one, I spread the bank statements across the dining table, between the green bean casserole and the buttered rolls. The yellow highlighter marks are impossible to miss. $2,500 transferred on the first of every month for the past 5 years. The special payments are circled in red. $42,000 for Tyler's BMW after he totaled his Audi. $8,700 for Brittany's emergency dental work that her insufficient insurance wouldn't cover. $24,500 for my parents' new roof and kitchen renovation. The last statement sits in the center, the $60,000 lump sum payment that cleared their second mortgage when Dad's commissions dried up during the pandemic. No one speaks. The only sound is Mom's fork slipping from her fingers onto her plate. Tyler's expression shifts from mockery to something closer to panic. His phone vibrates against the table. He glances down, swipes the notification away. It vibrates again and again. "Those your credit card alerts?" I ask quietly. The color drains from his face. "You don't understand," he says, voice dropping. "I've got payments due. Big ones. I'm already maxed out on 3 cards." "Tyler," Mom hisses, shooting him a warning look. "What?" She needs to know what she's doing. He turns back to me, voice rising. "I could get evicted, Lauren. Is that what you want? Your brother homeless because you're throwing some tantrum? You have the money." He slams his hand down, making the water glasses jump. "It wouldn't even hurt you. What else are you spending it on anyway? It's not like you have a family to support." Brittany slides her chair closer to Mom, draping an arm around her shoulders with practiced concern. Her perfectly manicured nails so fresh set I recognized from the salon receipt she texted me last week, asking for a small loan. Pat Mom's hand soothingly. Mom's been so stressed about bills lately, she murmurs, voice pitched just loud enough to reach me while seeming private. Her blood pressure medication isn't fully covered by insurance now. I've been trying to help, but with the kids' activities. I watch the performance with a detachment that surprises me. The subtle head tilt toward Mom, the gentle furrowing of her brow. Brittany's concerned daughter routine is flawless. She's always been the family emotional choreographer, positioning herself at the center of every crisis while somehow emerging as the solution rather than the problem. Why didn't you tell me about the medication? I ask Mom directly. Before Mom can answer, Brittany leans forward, cutting off our eye contact. You're so busy with your job. We didn't want to burden you. Her voice drops to a conspiratorial whisper meant to exclude Tyler and Dad. You know how they worry about bothering you. I told them, Lauren's got her own life now. We understand you're already so selective with your money. The phrase catches my attention. Selective? Brittany's eyes widen slightly, realizing her mistake. She recovers quickly, squeezing Mom's shoulders. Lauren doesn't mean it, Mom. She's just tired from working so much. I glance at the family photo on the credenza last Christmas at Aunt John's. I'd flown in from a client meeting in Seattle, exhausted but determined not to miss it. In the background, I can see Brittany whispering to our cousin Amy, both looking in my direction with expressions I'd mistaken for admiration. How long have you been telling people I'm stingy with my money, Brittany? I ask quietly. I would never, she begins, but Tyler snorts. Please. You told Uncle Rob that Lauren refuses to help with family emergencies because she's saving for some fancy condo renovation. That was the same week she paid for your kid's private school deposit. Is that what you've been telling people? That I'm stingy with my money? Dad clears his throat, sitting up straighter. Lauren, this discussion is over. You will not stop supporting this family. His tone leaves no room for debate yet. At least that's clearly his intention. After all we've done for you, Mom adds, dabbing at her eyes, we sacrificed everything so you could go to that fancy university. I had a full scholarship, I remind her, and worked 3 jobs to cover living expenses. We gave you values. Dad's voice rises. Family takes care of family. That's how we raised you. Is that why you've been telling relatives I'm still figuring things out professionally? Why Aunt Jean asked if I was still at that computer help desk job. Silence descends again, heavier this time. The realization settles in my chest like a cold stone. I'm not their daughter. I'm their bank. The golden goose they're terrified of losing. I stand, suddenly needing space. They rise with me, closing in, Mom reaching for my hand, Brittany blocking the doorway, Dad stepping closer to my side, Tyler hovering by the table, eyes darting between me and my purse, as if calculating whether he could grab the bank statements before I could stop him. Behind them hangs our family portrait from 3 years ago. We're all smiling, coordinated in blue and beige, Dad's hand on my shoulder. I remember writing the check for the photographer the next day. My decision is final. My voice remains steady, though I feel a deep ache spreading beneath my ribs. Grief for the family I thought I had. I gather my things with deliberate slowness, tucking the statements back into my folder. The key to their house, my parents' house, feels suddenly heavy in my pocket. I place it on the table, metal against wood, making a final decisive sound. Would you like some dessert before you go? Mom asks desperately. I made your favorite apple pie. I shake my head. At the door, I pause, looking back at the home I've been helping pay for, at the people who excluded me from their lives while accepting my money. Something shifts inside me, not regret, but resolution. I'll always be your daughter, I tell them quietly, but I will no longer be your bank. I close the door behind me, the cool evening air washing over my heated face. For the first time in years, I drive away without a promise to fix something, without an invoice waiting in my inbox. It feels like breathing after years underwater. My phone vibrates against the kitchen counter for the 17th time this hour. I don't need to look to know who it is. The screen lights up again. Tyler. Ha ha. Okay. You made your point. Now send the money. I take a sip of my tea, waiting for what I know will follow. 3, 2, 1. Lauren, I'm serious. If you don't send it, I'm screwed. The desperation in his messages escalates with each notification. If you don't help me, my credit will tank. Do you want that on your conscience? I place my mug down and silence my phone, but not before catching a glimpse of 5 missed calls from Mom. Her voicemails range from tearful pleas, "Lauren, honey, we need to talk about this misunderstanding," to barely contained anger, "I didn't raise you to be this selfish." My laptop pings with an email notification. Dad, with the subject line, "Family Responsibility." The preview shows just enough for me to see his opening line. "It's time you act like an adult and stop this childish." I close my laptop. On my tablet, Brittany's latest passive-aggressive Facebook post appears. "True family stands together through everything. Blood is thicker than water. Family loyalty. Disappointed." 3 angry face emojis from cousins who weren't at the reunion either. My condo, normally my sanctuary after long days of coding, now feels like a fortress under siege. The clean lines of my mid-century furniture, the carefully curated bookshelves, the piece I've crafted here, all of it, vibrates with the digital intrusion of my family's demands. I move deliberately through each device, turning off notifications one by one. On my phone, settings, notifications, Tyler off, Mom off, date off, Brittany off. On my laptop, email filters created. On social media, muted, all of them. The sudden silence feels both empty and full. I sit at my small dining table nothing like the ornate cherrywood monstrosity at my parents' house that I helped pay to restore last year. Mine is simple walnut, chosen for its clean lines rather than status. I open my banking app and stare at the automatic transfers I set up years ago. Mom and Dad household, $2,500 monthly. Tyler emergency fund, $1,000 monthly. Brittany children's education, $500 monthly. My finger hovers over each one. Cancel. Confirm. Cancel. Confirm. Cancel. Confirm. With each confirmation, something shifts in my chest, not lighter exactly, but more aligned, like vertebrae slipping back into place after years of poor posture. I open a new spreadsheet. Lauren's budget, 2025. I start filling in the numbers I know by heart, but this time, I don't include the family column that has consumed nearly a third of my income for years. As the calculations update automatically, a number appears at the bottom that momentarily stops my breathing. Disposable income, $4,000 month. A sum that would have been inconceivable just days ago. I create a new row. Dream vacation fund. My phone rings with a number I recognize. Margaret, my best friend from college. The one person who's been telling me for years that my family was taking advantage of me. I saw Brittany's post. She says without preamble, "Are you okay?" For the first time since the family dinner, I feel tears threatening. "I'm fine." "The hell you are," Margaret says, her voice gentle despite the words. "But you did the right thing, Lauren. You know that, right?" Before I can answer, a text appears from James, a coworker who noticed my distraction during our morning meeting. "You seemed off today. Everything all right? Happy to grab coffee if you need to talk." And then, surprisingly, a private message from Aunt Carol. "I'm so sorry about the reunion photos. I didn't realize you weren't invited. We all asked where you were, and your mom said you were too busy with work to come. If I'd known." My supervisor, Sarah, stops by my desk the next day, closing the door to my office. "Family issues?" she asks, her perceptive eyes taking in my exhausted appearance. When I hesitate, she continues, "I recognize that look. 3 years ago, I had to cut off my brother after he drained my savings account for the 3rd time." She pauses. It gets easier. 1 week later, I'm eating lunch at my dining table when the doorbell rings. Through the peephole, I see my mother and Brittany standing in the hallway, fake smiles plastered on their faces. Brittany's children, Aiden, 6, and Emma, 4, stand in front of them like human shields. I take a deep breath and open the door. Aunt Lauren, the children chorus, rushing forward with crayon drawings. We were just in the neighborhood, Mom says, her voice too bright, and thought we'd stop by. Brittany holds up a bag from my favorite bakery. We brought those almond croissants you love. I kneel to accept Emma's drawing. Thank you, sweetheart. This is beautiful. I turn to Aiden, admiring his robot drawing while being acutely aware of the calculating gazes above me. Can we come in? Mom asks, already stepping forward. I rise slowly. The kids can come in for a few minutes. You two can wait in the hallway. Mom's smile freezes. Lauren, don't be ridiculous. We're family. Yes, we are, and family respects boundaries. I open the door wider for the children. Aiden, Emma, would you like some juice? Behind them, Brittany's face hardens. You can't be serious. I am. I meet her gaze steadily. The children are welcome. You aren't. Not until we've had a conversation about respect and neutral ground. Mom's facade crumbles. Lauren, please. The property tax bill came yesterday, without your help. I'm sure Dad can figure something out, I say, my voice calmer than I feel. He managed household finances for decades before I started helping. Brittany's desperation becomes palpable. This isn't just about money, Lauren. It's about families supporting each other. Yes, I agree. It is. Their tactics fail one by one as I maintain my position. Eventually, they leave, children in tow, Brittany's parting words hanging in the air. This isn't over. 3 days later, I receive increasingly frantic texts from all of them. Bills arriving with no means to pay. Tyler facing eviction and repossession simultaneously. My father returning to work part-time after 4 years of retirement. Family members are asking questions, wondering how Mom and Dad's lavish lifestyle has suddenly contracted. How Tyler's apparent wealth has evaporated overnight. How Brittany's endless shopping sprees have abruptly ceased. The financial reality they've hidden behind my support is collapsing around them. At 11:43 p.m., heavy pounding on my door jolts me awake. Through the peephole, I see Tyler unshaven, eyes wild, clothes wrinkled as if he's been wearing them for days. I know you're in there, Lauren. Open the door. I wrap my robe tightly around myself and open the door. Security chain still in place. What do you want, Tyler? He switches instantly to the charming smile that has gotten him out of trouble since childhood. Hey sis, sorry about the hour. Can I come in? I just want to talk. No, say what you need to say from there. His smile slips. Come on, don't be like that. I've been thinking about what happened, and you're right. I should be more appreciative. He leans closer to the crack in the door. I just need a little help. Just this once. Then I promise I'll get my act together. No, Tyler. His charm evaporates. You don't understand. I'll lose my apartment, my car, everything. Your financial problems are not my emergency, I say, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. His face contorts. You selfish bitch. You think you're so much better than us because you have a fancy job? Because you have money? You're nothing without this family. Nothing. The neighbors' doors are opening now, curious faces peering into the hallway. You're just a selfish brat, he shouts, all pretense abandoned. You think you're better than us because you have money? Newsflash, you're not. And when you finally fail, don't come crawling back, 'cause we won't care. I look at my brother, really look at him. The designer clothes I paid for, now rumpled. The entitlement etched into his features. The rage of a man who's never faced consequences for his actions. Good to know, Tyler. My voice doesn't waver. Now get off my property. I close the door firmly, turn the deadbolt, and slide down against it until I'm sitting on the floor, my knees pulled to my chest. My hands are shaking. My heart pounds against my ribs, but I don't open the door. My phone vibrates against the nightstand for the 5th time in 20 minutes. I don't need to look at the screen to know it's another family message. They've been arriving in waves, perfectly timed almost, as if they're coordinating their attacks. I finally reach for the phone, scrolling through the notifications. Mom, Lauren, you can't abandon your family like this. After everything we've done for you. Think about what people will say. Brittany, you're being ridiculous. Family is supposed to help each other. Mom is crying herself to sleep every night. Tyler's messages have evolved over the past week. First came the mockery. Dramatic much? Guess you showed us. Then the begging. I really need help with this month's car payment. Now, thinly veiled threats. You'll regret cutting us off when you need something. And you will need something. I set the phone down and take a deliberate sip of my morning coffee, savoring the bitter warmth. 3 separate cousins called yesterday, each with the same concerned tone, each supposedly just checking in after hearing some concerning things. Aunt Jean from Florida, who I see once every 5 years, suddenly feels compelled to text. Family stands by family, Lauren. I'm disappointed in you. My finger hovers over the power button on my phone. Instead, I open my laptop and type a quick email to Sarah in legal. Do you have time to discuss a personal matter that may have professional implications? I write, then press send before I can reconsider. 2 hours later, sitting across from Sarah in her office, I carefully place a folder on her desk. Inside are screenshots of every message, every voicemail transcript, and a log of all family contact attempts. I'm concerned this may escalate, I explain, keeping my voice steady. My brother has made comments suggesting he might contact clients or appear at the office. Sarah nods, reviewing the documents with a practiced eye. Smart to document everything, she says. Let's talk about a protection plan. By afternoon, I've scheduled installation of a security camera at my condo entrance, met with my bank to password protect all accounts, and drafted a clear, attorney-reviewed email to my family defining my boundaries. Effective immediately, I will not respond to communications that are demanding, threatening, or manipulative in nature. Any appearance at my workplace will result in immediate security involvement. This is not negotiable. I press send and exhale slowly, feeling both lighter and heavier simultaneously. I hear the whispers at the grocery store 3 days later. That's her, a former neighbor murmurs to her companion, the one who abandoned her family after making all that tech money. I select an apple, examining it with unnecessary focus while straining to hear their conversation. Richard says they sacrificed everything for her education, and now she's turned her back on them. The words drift over the produce section. I place the apple in my cart and straighten my shoulders, moving through the store with deliberate calm. Let them talk. I've made my decision. What surprises me most is my lack of desire to defend myself. The old Lauren would have rushed to explain, to justify, to make everyone understand. Now, I simply check out with my groceries and drive home. When my phone rings with an unknown number that evening, I almost ignore it. Something makes me answer. Is this Lauren Mitchell? Asks a stern male voice. Yes, speaking. This is American Credit Services calling about your brother Tyler Mitchell's overdue account. He's listed you as a guarantor on his loan. My hand tightens around the phone. I've never co-signed any loan for my brother. Well, he's provided your contact information as a payment reference on multiple accounts. He indicated you'd be covering his payments. The pieces click together, the calls from unknown numbers over the past year, the collection notices that sometimes appeared in my mail. I'm not responsible for any of my brother's debts. I state firmly, and I'd like to be removed from all his accounts immediately. After hanging up, I open my laptop and pull up my financial management software. The neat columns of numbers tell a new story now. Without the $2,500 monthly transfer to my parents and the emergency expenses for Tyler and Brittany, my financial picture has transformed. I schedule an appointment with a financial advisor for next week. Then, after a moment's hesitation, I click on a travel site I've had bookmarked for years but never seriously considered. 2-bedroom villa on the Amalfi Coast. 7 nights. My finger hovers over the Book Now button. I've always wanted to see Italy. Always put it off because someone more important needed my money. I click. The confirmation page appears, and an unfamiliar feeling washes over me. Freedom. The call comes at 11:47 p.m. 3 weeks later. My mother's name flashes on the screen. I answer, hearing her labored breathing. Lauren, she gasps. I think I'm having a heart attack. Your father isn't home. I need you to come right away. My heart pounds, but my mind remains clear. I'm calling an ambulance for you right now, I say, already dialing 911 on my other phone. No, no ambulance, she protests. Just come over. Please, Lauren, I need you. 20 minutes later, paramedics report back that my mother is experiencing no cardiac symptoms. Her blood pressure is normal. There are no signs of distress beyond her agitation at their presence. The paramedic's voice lowers on the phone. This happens sometimes, she says gently. People use medical emergencies to regain contact. I thank her and end the call, just as a voicemail notification appears. It's from my father. You've gone too far this time, his voice growls, all pretense abandoned. Sending strangers to our house instead of coming yourself? You think you're so much better than us. You'd be nothing without this family. Nothing. I delete the message without replying. My phone lights up with a text from Tyler. I messed up. I don't know what to do. Please, Lauren, help me. My thumb hovers over the keyboard. How many times have I received this exact message? How many times have I rushed to solve Tyler's problems, draining my accounts, my energy, my life, to fix his mistakes? A memory surfaces. Tyler at my college graduation, rolling his eyes during my valedictorian speech, checking his watch repeatedly. Tyler borrowing my first work laptop and returning it with beer spilled on the keyboard. Tyler laughing about computer nerds while cashing the checks I sent. I take a deep breath and press delete. The message disappears from my screen. For the first time in years, I feel myself smile without reservation. I'm reaching for organic tomatoes when I hear my name called across the produce section. Lauren? Lauren Mitchell? Mrs. Henderson, my parents' neighbor for 20 years, approaches with her shopping cart. Her silver bob catches the fluorescent light as she moves toward me, with surprising speed for a woman in her 70s. It's been months since I've seen you, she says, resting a hand on my forearm. Her touch is light, but her gaze is heavy with something I can't quite place. How have you been, dear? I'm well, thank you. I place 2 tomatoes in my basket, hyper-aware of my surroundings. It's been 3 months since I cut financial ties with my family. 3 months of blessed silence after the initial storm of texts and calls. Mrs. Henderson's fingers tighten slightly on my arm. I always wondered, she says, leaning closer, where all their money came from. My hand freezes mid-reach for a bell pepper. Excuse me? Your father, she clarifies, her voice lowering conspiratorially. Always bragging about their investments, their vacations. Your mother showing off kitchen renovations. She shakes her head. Then suddenly, they're canceling their country club membership and your father's back working at the dealership. Her eyes narrow with sharp intelligence. Funny timing, don't you think? The weight of her words settles between us. My parents' carefully constructed facade of success, built on my financial support, now crumbling publicly without it. I should feel vindicated. Instead, a complicated ache spreads through my chest. Tyler's blaming your parents now. Aunt Carol says through the phone, no trace of her usual Southern cheerfulness, says they spoiled him instead of teaching responsibility. Rich, coming from him, but there it is. I grip the steering wheel tighter, navigating through traffic. And Mom and Dad? Fighting constantly. Your father says your mother should have managed the household budget better. Carol sighs. Everyone's looking for someone to blame now that you're not around to fix everything. The truth reverberates. Without me as their scapegoat and ATM, the family system is collapsing under its own dysfunction. Cousin Emma asked for your number, Carol adds. Said she always thought you got a raw deal. Others are starting to say the same. At work the next day, Sarah calls me into her office. Lauren, you've exceeded every metric we've set. She slides a folder across her desk with a promotion letter and substantial salary increase. Whatever changes you've made in your personal life, they're working for you professionally. My phone buzzes with a text. Jim, Brittany's husband. Need to talk, it's important. Before I can respond, commotion erupts in the hallway. A familiar voice cuts through the office chatter. Where is she, Lauren? I know you're here. Tyler. My stomach tightens as I step out of Sarah's office to see my brother, disheveled and wild-eyed, being blocked by our receptionist. "Sir, you need to leave or I'm calling security," she warns. "Lauren," Tyler spots me. "You think you're better than all of us now? Too good for family?" His voice cracks with desperation. "Mom's crying every day because of you." Colleagues pause, watching the scene unfold. I feel their eyes but stand perfectly still, refusing to match his chaos with mine. "Tyler, this is my workplace," I say, keeping my voice steady. "You need to leave." "You've always been selfish," he shouts as security arrives. "What about family loyalty, after everything we've done for you?" I don't flinch as they escort him toward the elevator, his accusations echoing down the hallway. The doors close on his angry face, and the office falls silent. "Everyone back to work," I say calmly, turning to my stunned colleagues. "Nothing to see here." Sarah squeezes my shoulder as I return to her office. "Are you okay?" Actually, yes, I realize, surprised by the truth of it. I am. That evening, as I review my investment portfolio watching 3 months of untouched savings grow, my phone rings with Jim's number. "I wanted to apologize," he says before I can speak. "I had no idea Brittany was taking money from you while we had our own emergency fund." "She told me you were struggling," I say carefully. "We were never struggling." His voice tightens with controlled anger, not at me, but at his wife. "Lauren, I've been trying to set boundaries with your family for years, but they're relentless." "That they are," I agree, surprising myself with a short laugh. "How did you do it?" he asks, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. "How did you finally break free?" The question catches me off guard, this impossible alliance forming across family lines. "I stopped believing I was responsible for fixing their problems," I say finally. The certified letter from my attorney arrives the next morning. I run my finger over the embossed letterhead before setting it on the kitchen counter. Inside, legal documentation establishing clear boundaries for future contact, removing my name from any financial commitments to the family home, and official notification that all monetary support has permanently ceased. My phone pings with a notification. The bank confirms Tyler's car has been repossessed, the same car I'd been making payments on for years. The Mercedes he'd parked defiantly in my visitor spot during his last emergency visit. For the first time in years, I sleep through the night without checking my phone. No midnight texts about broken water heaters or overdrawn accounts. No pre-dawn calls about Tyler's latest crisis. In the morning light, I stand before my bathroom mirror, studying my reflection. The woman looking back seems different, shoulders relaxed, jaw unclenched, eyes clear and focused. The constant weight I carried for so long has visibly lifted, as if I've shed an actual physical burden. I think about what Mrs. Henderson said in the grocery store, about Jim's hushed questions, about Tyler's desperate scene in my office, about how sometimes the true purpose of difficult boundaries isn't just protecting yourself, but forcing others to finally grow up. The scent of rosemary and garlic fills my condo as I arrange a final sprig of herbs on the roasted vegetable platter. Through the kitchen window, December snow falls in gentle flakes, nothing like the blizzard of emotions that engulfed me this time last year. "Need any help?" Margaret calls from the living room where she's adjusting a string of tasteful white lights along my bookshelf. "Just about done," I reply, surprised by the easy calm in my voice. A year ago, that voice trembled as I confronted my family over a dining table laden with manipulation and decades of expectation. I glance at the new photos adorning my wall, shaking at Starved Rock with James and his wife, Sarah, and I at the company retreat, a group shot from the financial literacy workshop I now lead monthly. Not a single image features the people who share my DNA. Yet these frames hold more genuine family than I've known in 32 years. My phone buzzes on the counter. Once, that sound would have triggered an immediate spike of adrenaline, another family emergency, another drain on my bank account, another reason I wasn't good enough despite everything I gave. Now, I check it at leisure, smiling at the text from a hiking group about next weekend's trail. The doorbell chimes, and I open it to find James and Lisa, their arms filled with a homemade lasagna and a bottle of wine. "Sorry we're early," Lisa says, unwinding her scarf. James was worried about the snow. "Always the planner," I laugh, accepting their offering. "Come in." Soon my modest living room hums with conversation. Sarah arrives with her partner, followed by two colleagues from the literacy program. The space fills with genuine laughter that doesn't hold hidden barbs or veiled requests. Margaret raises her glass during dinner. To Lauren, she says, her eyes holding mine with fierce pride, "Who taught me what courage really looks like?" Sarah nods. "You've inspired half the office to set better boundaries. My brother actually called to thank you." I feel warmth spread across my cheeks that has nothing to do with wine. Later, as we share dessert, Aunt Carol's monthly update arrives in my inbox. I excuse myself for a moment to read it privately on my balcony. "Tyler's working 2 jobs now, actually showing up consistently. Your parents finally sold the lake house, moving to that condo next month. Brittany and Mark are in counseling, something about financial honesty. Everyone's changing, Lauren. Slowly, painfully, but changing." Cold air fills my lungs as I absorb this. Without me as their safety net, they're finally learning to stand. The knowledge brings complexity, satisfaction tinged with grief for all the years wasted in our dance of enablement. Back inside, I catch sight of a small photo on my bookshelf, younger me, graduation day, eyes bright with hope before years of familial extraction dimmed them. Beside it sits my journal, tracking the emotional terrain I've navigated this year, and my latest bank statement with its healthy balance and absence of outgoing support payments. My therapist's words echo, "Boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges to healthier relationships if others choose to cross them respectfully." Later that week, I sit with Zoe, a 24-year-old participant in my financial literacy program. Something in her hesitant questions about family obligations reminds me of myself a decade ago. "My mom says it's my responsibility since I got the good job," she whispers. I reach into my bag and hand her my copy of Financial Boundaries, the book that helped rebuild my self-worth after years of erosion. "Your success doesn't make you responsible for others' choices," I tell her. "Helping is wonderful. Being exploited isn't." The recognition in her eyes tells me the cycle might break here. When the invitation to next year's family reunion arrives in the mail, I don't immediately toss it. Instead, I consider it thoughtfully before writing my conditions for attendance on crisp stationery. My father's voice sounds older when he calls to discuss it. "Lauren," he begins, then pauses. "We didn't see what we were doing to you. I'm sorry." The apology is imperfect, halting, but the first genuine words we've exchanged in years. "I'll consider coming, Dad," I say finally. But this time, it's on my terms. That evening, I stand on my balcony watching twilight embrace the city. Wind shimmies a housewarming gift from Margaret sing, softly in the breeze. I close the family album I finally found courage to revisit, running my fingers over its worn cover. Sometimes I whisper to the fading light, "The most loving thing you can do for family is to stop protecting them from the consequences of their actions." I stand frozen in my own doorway, keys dangling from my fingers. Something's wrong. The house feels different today, disturbed. Laughter drifts down from upstairs, then stops abruptly at the sound of my key in the lock. I know that laugh. Lucas, home early from work. Maple rushes toward me, her golden fur a blur. Instead of her usual playful greeting, she whimpers, pressing against my legs with unusual anxiety. I bend down to stroke her head, my hand trembling slightly. "What's wrong, girl?" I whisper. That's when I spotted Lucas's dress shirt draped across the staircase banister. The pale blue one I ironed yesterday morning. And there's something else in the air, a perfume. Unfamiliar, yet somehow I know it. My stomach twists into a knot. I take deliberate steps up the stairs, each one heavier than the last. The wood creaks beneath my feet, announcing my ascent. Hushed, urgent whispers drift from our bedroom where the door stands slightly ajar. A woman's voice, then Lucas's, pleading, frantic. My hand pushes the door open before my mind fully processes what I'm about to witness. The hinges groan, a drawn-out note of betrayal. Lucas scrambles off our bed, yanking the sheet around his waist. And there, fumbling with her bra clasp, is Brooke, my sister. Her lipstick smeared, hair disheveled. 9 years younger, and a lifetime more favored. Of all people. My voice barely rises above a whisper. My own sister? Lucas steps forward, one hand extended. Melissa, this isn't what it looks like. A laugh escapes me, harsh and foreign to my own ears. Really, Lucas? Because it looks exactly like you're sleeping with my sister in our bed. Brooke doesn't even have the decency to look ashamed. Instead, annoyance flashes across her face, the same expression she wore when we were children, and I interrupted her piano recital practice. You weren't supposed to be home until 6, she says, as if I'm the one who's intruded. The room spins slightly. I grip the doorframe to steady myself as memories cascade through my mind. 17 years old, clutching my Northwestern scholarship letter. Full ride. The culmination of 4 years of straight A's and part-time jobs. My parents barely glanced at it, too busy preparing for Brooke's dance recital that evening. My wedding day. Mother fussing over Brooke's bridesmaid dress, concerned the pale pink would wash out her complexion. Melissa can handle herself, she'd said when the photographer called for the mother-daughter photos. Let's make sure Brooke's hair is perfect first. 3 months ago, Brooke showing up at our doorstep, mascara streaked down her cheeks. The big city chewed me up, she'd cried. I just need somewhere to stay temporarily. Lucas had been irritated at first. Then his irritation transformed into something else, something I'd noticed but dismissed. I take a deep breath and walk out, my legs carrying me downstairs automatically. I sink onto our living room couch, the one we picked out together last spring. Lucas and Brooke follow 20 minutes later, dressed now, their guilty expressions practiced and hollow. We need to talk, Lucas begins, perching on the edge of the coffee table. I've been feeling neglected, Melissa. You're always working, building your career while How long? I interrupt. They exchange a look that confirms everything. 6 weeks, Brooke admits. Almost since the day she moved in. While I stayed late at the office to finish the accessibility project, while I paid for groceries that fed them both. I think there's something else you should know. Brooke says, her hand drifting to her stomach in a gesture so deliberate it can only be rehearsed. I'm pregnant, and it's Lucas's. The words hit me like physical blows. This isn't a mistake, not a moment of weakness. This is an ongoing betrayal, a calculated deception. Get out, I whisper, then louder. Get out of my house, both of you. Melissa, be reasonable. Lucas starts. I'll be staying with Mom and Dad until you calm down, Brooke announces, as if she's doing me a favor. I stand, walk to our bedroom, and pull out an overnight bag. With mechanical precision, I pack essentials, clothes, toiletries, laptop. When I return downstairs, Lucas hovers in the hallway. Where are you going? He demands. This is your home too. Not anymore, I say, calling Maple to my side. I drive to my parents' house seeking comfort, sanctuary. Instead, I find another ambush waiting. Mom opens the door, lips pursed in disapproval. What did you do to drive him away, Melissa? Dad sits in his recliner, newspaper lowered just enough to peer at me over the edge. These things happen in marriages, he says with a dismissive wave. The realization crashes down. They already know. Brooke called them first. The story has been spun, and somehow, impossibly, I'm the villain. You need to be the bigger person now, Mom says, her hand on my shoulder feeling like lead. Family stands together through everything. Standing in my childhood home, surrounded by the people who should love me most, I've never felt more alone. Divorce papers scattered across the kitchen counter of my temporary apartment mock me with their cold, legal language. Irreconcilable differences. Such a bland phrase for finding your husband in bed with your sister. My phone lights up for the 5th time this hour. Mother again. I let it go to voicemail, knowing exactly what's coming. 3 minutes later, the notification appears. I press play, bracing myself. Melissa, it's Mom. Her voice carries that familiar note of disappointment. Brooke had some complications yesterday. The doctor says stress isn't good for the baby. A deliberate pause. She needs her sister right now, call me back. I delete the message and pick up a pen to initial another page. My phone buzzes with a text from Dad. Family stands together through everything. Remember what we taught you. What they taught me. I laugh. The sound hollow in the empty apartment. They taught me to smile when overlooked, to expect less, to make room for Brooke's needs. Always Brooke. Maple nudges my hand with her wet nose, sensing my distress. At least I have her. It's okay, girl, I whisper, scratching behind her ears. We're okay. My laptop pings with a notification. Against my better judgment, I click on it. A social media update. My cousin Jen has tagged me in a photo. My finger hovers over the mouse, hesitating before clicking. The image loads, punching the air from my lungs. Lucas and Brooke, his arm around her expanding waistline. My mother beaming beside them, holding up a tiny yellow onesie. The caption reads, "So excited for this new chapter. Family is everything." 43 likes. 6 congratulatory comments. Posted 3 hours ago in his living room. I slam my laptop shut and head to work. The office has become my sanctuary, the one place where life makes sense. Lines of code and user interfaces don't lie or manipulate. They simply work or they don't. I focus on my monitor, adding accessibility features to a client's website. My fingers fly across the keyboard, building digital pathways that anyone can navigate, regardless of their limitations. If only human relationships were as straightforward. Melissa. My coworker Jim's voice breaks my concentration. There's someone asking for you at reception. She seems upset. I know who it is before I reach the lobby. Mother stands there in her church cardigan, tissues clutched in her hand. Her eyes are red-rimmed, but I recognize the performance. I've seen it at parent-teacher conferences when I was difficult, at family gatherings when I embarrassed them by not playing along. What are you doing here? I keep my voice low, aware of receptionist Kathy watching with undisguised interest. You won't answer my calls. Mother dabs at dry eyes. I had no choice. I'm working, Mom. This isn't appropriate. She raises her voice slightly, ensuring others can hear. Nothing about how you're behaving is appropriate. Your sister is carrying your niece or nephew while you hide away. Heads turn, my cheeks burn. Let's talk outside, I say, guiding her toward the door. She yanks her arm away. No. Everyone should know what kind of person abandons her family. Her voice rises. They can't afford the baby expenses. You have 2 spare bedrooms in that house. My boss emerges from his office, frowning. You expect me to house the man who cheated on me and the sister who betrayed me? My voice shakes despite my efforts. Family forgives, she shouts, mascara now legitimately streaking as real tears begin. You've always been selfish, Melissa, always thinking about yourself. Security appears, summoned by Kathy's discreet call. Ma'am, you need to leave, says the guard, a kind-faced man named Daryl. Do you know what she's doing to her family? Mother clutches at his arm. Her sister is pregnant. Yes, with my husband's baby, I say quietly. Mother's face contorts. Family obligations come before pride. As Daryl escorts her out, she twists to face the now silent office. She'd rather let her sister struggle than fulfill her family obligations. The door closes behind them. I stand frozen until a hand touches my shoulder. My office, says my boss Richard. Take your time. Miss Alvarez, my attorney, adjusts her glasses as she reviews the security footage from my office. This is textbook harassment, she says, her dark eyes sharp with indignation. We can use this if they escalate further. They will, I say with certainty born from a lifetime of experience. My phone pings with an email from Richard. Your position here is secure. Take whatever time you need. Legal has been notified about today's incident. For the first time in weeks, I feel something like relief. A text appears from Tara, a designer I've worked with but barely know. Lunch tomorrow? I make a mean grilled cheese and know a thing or two about toxic families. I hesitate, then type back, "Yes, thank you." That night, an email from Aunt Karen arrives. Subject line, "Your parents' financial situation. Melissa dear, I've always thought of you as the sensible one. Your parents might lose their home helping Brooke and Lucas. Your father's retirement account can only stretch so far. I know you're hurt, but surely you don't want your parents homeless at their age." I close my eyes, remembering the new car in their driveway last month, the cruise they booked for fall. Opening Facebook, I find 3 posts from relatives I see once a year at Christmas, all variations on a theme. Family above all. Some people need to examine their priorities. So sad when people hold grudges. Anonymous comments have appeared on my professional profile questioning my reliability and teamwork. The pattern is clear: they're trying to damage my career, my reputation. Make me so desperate I'll give in. I look at the calendar, the 16th of April, my birthday. No calls from family, just demands disguised as concern. Old photo albums sit in a box by my bed. I flip through them, seeing the pattern for the first time. Family photos where I stand slightly apart. Achievements unacknowledged, while Brooke's smallest efforts earn celebration. My email pings. Lucas. Mel, I know you're angry, but this isn't about us anymore. The baby needs stability. We're struggling to make rent. You're living alone while we're cramped at your parents'. Be reasonable. You always were stubborn and unforgiving. Maybe if you'd been more attentive as a wife, none of this would have happened. My finger hovers over block contact. Then, with a clarity I've never felt before, I press it. One by one, I block every family member who's participated in this campaign. For the first time in my life, I choose myself. The manila envelope sits on my desk like a ticking bomb. My coworker Jen placed it there with concerned eyes, whispering, "It was hand-delivered." The return address confirms what my hammering heart already suspects: Hartwell and Associates, Lucas's attorney. I slide my finger under the seal, the paper slicing a thin cut. A drop of blood wells, bidding for what comes next. Inside, legal documents spill out with their cold, clinical language. Plaintiff Lucas Blake seeks damages for emotional distress and reputation damage against defendant Melissa Blake. My eyes catch phrases throughout the complaint: willful abandonment, malicious interference with business relationships, reckless disregard causing pregnancy complications. Each accusation lands like a physical blow. A handwritten note flutters out, Mom's distinctive cursive. "You can avoid all this by simply helping them. Why make everyone suffer through a court battle?" The fluorescent lights suddenly seem too bright. My hands shake as I gather the papers, sliding them back into the envelope. 10 minutes later, I'm walking into Miss Beeplope Alvarez's law office, the weight of the documents heavy in my bag. Her office smells of lemon polish and old books. Dark wood paneling lines the walls, diplomas and certifications displayed without ostentation. Miss Alvarez herself sits behind a substantial desk, her silver-streaked hair pulled back in a sleek bun. Her eyes, sharp and assessing, soften slightly when she sees my face. "They're suing me," I say, placing the envelope on her desk. Miss Alvarez reviews the documents, her expression revealing nothing. When she looks up, I expect pity. Instead, I see calculation, the look of a chess player seeing 3 moves ahead. "What do you want to do?" she asks. The question catches me off guard. My entire life, decisions were made around me, for me, despite me. What I wanted rarely factored in. "I've been silent my whole life," I say, my voice growing stronger with each word. "I won't be silent about this." Miss Alvarez nods, a hint of approval in her eyes. Then we build our case. The next 3 weeks become a blur of documentation. Every cruel text from Lucas, every manipulative voicemail from my mother, every public social media post from Brooke painting me as the villain, all captured, dated, organized, Miss Alvarez's paralegal, a young man with kind eyes and ruthless efficiency, helps me reconstruct the timeline. Financial records reveal the most damning evidence. Lucas had been systematically draining our joint savings for months before the affair came to light. Credit card statements showed dinners, hotel bookings, jewelry purchases, all while I worked overtime on the accessibility project that kept me at the office late. "Look at this," Miss Alvarez points to a transaction from February. "This weekend getaway was booked 2 days after Brooke moved in. The betrayal wasn't spontaneous, it was calculated from the beginning. Support arrives from unexpected quarters. My neighbor, Mrs. Castillo, provides a notarized statement confirming that Brooke's car frequently stayed overnight at our house when I traveled for work months before I discovered the affair. 3 of Lucas's former employees come forward, revealing he'd been neglecting the business, taking extended lunches, closing the shop early. The most surprising ally appears on a rainy Tuesday. Brooke's former roommate from New York. "I'm Danny," she says, shaking my hand firmly in Miss Alvarez's conference room. "Brooke screwed me over too, took off owing 3 months' rent and trashed my reputation with our friend group." Danny's testimony dismantles Brooke's claim of being a helpless victim of big city cruelty. The evidence mounts, each piece reinforcing what I'd suspected. I wasn't crazy, I wasn't overreacting. I'd been methodically manipulated by the people I trusted most. The morning of the hearing arrives with unexpected calm. I dress carefully: charcoal pencil skirt, ivory blouse, my grandmother's simple pearl earrings. Not flashy, nothing that could be interpreted as vindictive or attention-seeking. In the courthouse corridor, I spot them huddled together: Lucas, Brooke, Mom, Dada, unified front. Brooke's hand rests protectively on her slightly swollen belly, a calculated gesture. They expect me to crumble at the sight, to seek reconciliation rather than face them in court. Instead, I walk past with my chin up, Miss Alvarez beside me. Their confidence visibly falters. Lucas tugs at his collar. Dad's eyes dart away when I meet his gaze. Only Brooke maintains her entitled glare, though it wavers when Miss Alvarez gives her a cool once-over. Inside the courtroom, their attorney presents their case with practiced indignation, painting me as a jealous, vindictive woman who abandoned her family in their time of need. Brooke takes the stand, her voice trembling with practiced emotion as she describes the high-risk pregnancy complications my harassment supposedly caused. Miss Alvarez rises when our turn comes. With methodical precision, she dismantles their narrative. Medical records from Brooke's own doctor contradict her claims of pregnancy complications. Security footage shows my mother's workplace ambush. Financial records expose Lucas's misappropriation of our joint funds. The judge's expression shifts from professional neutrality to growing disbelief as the evidence mounts. When Miss Alvarez presents the documented timeline of social media posts orchestrated by my family-coordinated character assassination, disguised as concern, the judge removes her glasses, pinching the bridge of her nose. "Your Honor," Miss Alvarez concludes, "this isn't a case about emotional distress. This is a textbook example of emotional manipulation and financial exploitation, followed by an attempt to use this court to continue that exploitation." My family's attorney attempts rebuttal, but his arguments sound hollow against the mountain of evidence. I watch my parents' faces as they finally grasp what's happening. This isn't going their way. Dad's complexion has gone ashen. Mom keeps glancing at Brooke, whose hand now clutches Lucas's arm with white knuckles. The judge clears her throat, replacing her glasses with deliberate movements. "I've heard enough," she says, her voice carrying the weight of judgment. "This court will not be weaponized for emotional manipulation." I sit perfectly still, hardly breathing as she continues. "Years of being overlooked, dismissed, and manipulated have prepared me for the worst. But for once, the truth is plainly visible to everyone in the room. The plaintiff's claims are dismissed with prejudice," the judge states firmly. "Furthermore, I'm ordering the plaintiffs to pay the defendant's court costs in full." The gavel comes down with a crack that echoes through the suddenly silent courtroom. My family's faces register the impossible they've lost. For perhaps the first time in my life, they are merely seeing me and realizing too late that they severely underestimated the quiet daughter they'd always overlooked. The courtroom falls silent as Judge Hernandez leans forward, her silver-rimmed glasses catching the fluorescent light. Her stern expression reveals nothing as she surveys the room. I grip the edge of the table, my knuckles white. "This court," she begins, each word deliberate and weighted, "will not be weaponized for emotional manipulation." My breath catches. Beside me, Miss Alvarez's posture remains perfect, but I catch the slight twitch at the corner of her mouth. The claims against Melissa Blake are dismissed in their entirety. The judge's gavel cracks against wood. Furthermore, plaintiffs Lucas Morgan and Brooke Blake will pay all court costs totaling $8,000. Across the aisle, Brooke's mouth falls open. Lucas slumps forward, hands covering his face. Behind them, Mom clutches Dad's arm, her expression frozen in disbelief. They never expected to lose. "We won," Miss Alvarez whispers, her professional composure intact save for the gleam in her dark eyes. But victory feels different than I imagined. Not elation, just quiet confirmation that sometimes justice does prevail. My phone buzzes nonstop that evening. I place it face down on my apartment counter and pour a glass of Merlot. Maple nudges my leg, sensing my unease. "It's okay, girl," I murmur, scratching behind her one floppy ear. When I finally check the messages, they spill out like poison. Mom's voicemail. "Melissa, you've always been so stubborn. This isn't what your father and I raised you to be. Call me back." Dad's text. "You've destroyed this family. I hope you're satisfied." Brooke's Facebook post already has 17 comments. Some people have so much influence they can buy a judge. Corrupt justice. Family betrayal. Lucas's message arrives last. "This isn't over, Melissa. You think you've won? You've just started a war." I forward each communication to Miss Alvarez without responding. She calls within minutes. "Document everything," she advises. "Don't engage with any of them directly." I follow her counsel precisely. My response to each family member is identical, a carefully crafted paragraph, reviewed by Miss Alvarez, stating my desire for no further contact. Professional. Distant. Final. The cease and desist letters go out the next morning. Miss Alvarez suggested certified mail so they can't claim they never received them. My only public statement appears beneath Brooke's post. "Thank you to everyone who has supported me through this difficult time. The court records speak for themselves." 3 days later, I call a real estate agent. The for sale sign gleams in my front yard, catching morning light. I sip coffee on the porch, watching my old neighborhood wake up. Mrs. Patterson from across the street gives a tentative wave. Last month, she wouldn't make eye contact. Word travels fast in Denver. Lucas's auto shop voicemail now directs customers to a competitor across town. His business partner bought him out at a loss, according to neighborhood gossip. Apparently, skilled mechanics don't appreciate bosses who abandon the shop for afternoon trysts and court appearances. Pastor Mike from my parents' church calls unexpectedly. "We've missed seeing your folks on Sundays," he says, his voice gentle. "Is everything all right with them?" I tell him only that we've had a family disagreement. He doesn't press, but his careful phrasing tells me he's heard enough. Brooke's baby shower invitation circulates on social media. Taylor, my colleague who attended high school with her, shows me the photos afterward, a half-empty living room, elaborate decorations, and Brooke's tight smile as she opens gifts. Mom hovers nearby, refilling punch cups nobody requested. I feel nothing, not satisfaction, not even anger anymore. The consequences I never sought unfold on their own, a natural tide I neither control nor resist. "Seattle?" Miss Alvarez Deanna, now that we're having lunch as friends rather than client and attorney, raises her eyebrows. "Promotion to UX design director." I smile, slicing into my salmon. They've wanted me to lead their accessibility division for months. "And the house?" "Sold yesterday, 15,000 above asking." She raises her glass in a toast. "To new beginnings." That evening, I wrap carefully chosen gifts. For Diana, a first edition of her favorite mystery novel. For Taylor and the team, gift cards to the art supply store they love. For Mrs. Patterson, who eventually told me she'd seen Brooke arriving at my house for months before I discovered the affair, a potted orchid. My farewell dinner feels like a revelation. 8 people gather at my favorite restaurant, none related by blood, all connected by something deeper. Loyalty freely given, not demanded as a birthright. I drive through the neighborhood one last time before heading north. Past Lucas's shop with its new signage. Past my parents' church. Past the park where Brooke once pushed me off the swings and claimed I fell. I feel only lightness, like setting down a burden I never should have carried. Maple sits alert in the passenger seat, nose twitching at the passing scenery. She doesn't look back either. Neither of us needs to. I spot him before he sees me. Dad leans against a light post outside my office building, his shoulders hunched under his worn camel coat, the same one he's had since I was in high school. My steps falter, coffee sloshing against the lid of my cup. 8 months since I left Denver. 8 months of silence and healing in Seattle's cool embrace. And now this. His face has aged a decade in less than a year. Deep lines bracket his mouth. His hair has gone from salt and pepper to nearly white. He straightens when he spots me, his eyes lighting with recognition, then something else, determination. Melissa. He says my name like a declaration. My heart hammers against my ribs, but my voice remains steady. How did you find me? Your old boss in Denver. I said it was a family emergency. His eyes dart around the bustling street. Can we talk? I consider the dozen ways I could refuse him, could walk past, could call security, could simply say no, but curiosity mingles with my caution. What desperate move brings him 700 miles from home? Pike Place Cafe. Around the corner. I nod in its direction. Public place. 20 minutes, then I need to get back to work. The cafe buzzes with lunchtime energy. I choose a table near the center, where baristas and customers create a buffer of witnesses. Dad arrives 5 minutes later, removing his coat to reveal a sweater that hangs loose on his frame. He's lost weight. Coffee? I ask, already signaling to the server. He nods, hands fidgeting with a paper napkin. How are you? His voice holds an uncharacteristic hesitancy. Good. I offer nothing more. No opening for him to slip through. His coffee arrives. He wraps weathered hands around the mug but doesn't drink. Your mother misses you. I take a slow sip from my own cup. Wait. She cries herself to sleep most nights. He continues when I don't respond. This separation, it's killing her. Is that why you came? To tell me Mom misses me? His eyes shift away, then back. Brooke and Lucas are struggling with the baby. Colic, the doctors say. She hardly sleeps. I'm sorry to hear that. The words come out flat, stripped of the sympathy they might once have carried. Lucas lost the shop. Dad leans forward, voice dropping. Bank foreclosed 2 months ago. Too many missed payments during everything. The final piece clicks into place. You need money. He flinches as if I've struck him. It's not about money. It's about family standing together through hard times. But you do need money. His jaw tightens, the same expression he wore when I questioned his authority as a teenager. There are expenses, medical bills, the baby. Your mother and I had to refinance the house to help them. I nod, waiting for what comes next. He pulls out his phone, taps the screen a few times, then slides it across the table. An email is open, addressed to me. The subject line reads, Family Dissolution. My eyes catch phrases in the body. Formally sever our relationship. Irreconcilable differences. No longer consider yourself our daughter. If you don't help, we're officially cutting ties with you, he says, watching my face for signs of distress. Your mother and I drafted this together. I read the email twice, feeling the weight of what would have crushed me a year ago. Now I only feel a strange lightness. You're assuming this is a threat, not a relief. His eyes widen. I stand slowly, my chair scraping against the floor. Several nearby patrons glance our way. I tower over my seated father, drawing myself to my full height for perhaps the first time in his presence. I didn't lose a family, I say, my voice clear enough that a couple at the next table pauses mid-conversation. I lost people who never treated me like family. Melissa, when I got my scholarship to Northwestern, you and Mom missed the ceremony for Brooke's dance recital. At my wedding, Mom spent more time fixing Brooke's dress than looking at mine. For 36 years, I've been the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who gets overlooked because I handle everything myself. His face pales. That's not true. When Brooke slept with my husband in my bed and got pregnant, you told me to be the bigger person. When I needed support, you blamed me. Each word falls like a stone, precise and unyielding. And now you track me down across state lines because you need my money? Dad's manipulation crumbles visibly, his shoulders sagging, eyes darting to others watching our confrontation. He hadn't expected an audience to his failure. You can send that email, I say, gathering my purse. But be honest about why you're sending it. Not because I failed as a daughter, but because I finally stopped letting you treat me like I don't matter. I walk away without looking back, my steps lighter with each foot of distance I put between us. Your mother is sick. His desperate voice follows me. I pause at the door, turn slightly. Hope she gets better. Goodbye, Dad. Outside, Seattle's familiar drizzle kisses my face. I pull out my phone and type a quick message. Miss Alvarez. Father found me at work. May need restraining order paperwork. Will call this afternoon. As I walk back toward my office, a weight lifts from my shoulders, the final burden I didn't know I still carried. For the first time since I found Lucas and Brooke in my bedroom, I feel truly free. Not because I've won some victory against my family, but because I've finally stopped fighting for their approval at all. Sunlight streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long rectangles of gold across polished hardwood. I trace my fingers along the granite countertop, still marveling that this space belongs to me. 12 stories up, Lake Union stretches blue and vast, dotted with sailboats that look like toys from this height. My phone buzzes with a calendar reminder. Design team meeting, 10:30. The screen displays my title beneath it, UX Design Director. The promotion came through 3 months ago, after my accessibility project for visually impaired users won an industry award. Maple lifts her head from her sun-warmed spot by the windows, thumping her tail against the floor. Unlike our cramped rental during those first desperate months in Seattle, this apartment gives her room to stretch, to breathe. Like me. Just one more coffee, girl, I tell her, reaching for my Seattle skyline mug. On the refrigerator, magnets hold photos from last month's hiking trip to Mount Rainier, me, face sunburned and laughing between Diane from accounting and Tara from legal. Friends who know nothing of the woman I used to be, who like me for reasons that have nothing to do with obligation. My laptop chimes with an incoming email. The subject line reads, "Thought you should see this." A former colleague from Denver, one of the few who still occasionally checks in. I hesitate before clicking. Inside, a link to the Denver Post business section. Lucas Blake, formerly owner of Blake's Custom Automotive, now working as a standard mechanic at a franchise chain. The article mentions financial difficulties following family challenges. I close the laptop without finishing the article. Last week brought news of my parents' house listing downsizing mentioned in the realtor's description. 2 months ago, an acquaintance mentioned seeing Brooke struggling with a stroller at the grocery store. No sign of Lucas with her. I should feel something triumph, perhaps. Vindication. Instead, a quiet compassion rises, then settles. Their lives continue without me, as mine continues without them. The difference is, I'm thriving. On my bookshelf sits Dr. Merriam's book on family dynamics, dog-eared and highlighted. Tuesday evenings still find me in her office, unpacking decades of patterns I never recognized until they shattered around me. Boundaries aren't walls, she'd said in our first session. They're the foundation that lets you build something new. The something new sits in a notebook beside my bed, a list titled Achievements that I add to weekly, no matter how small the victory. Learning to celebrate myself without external validation was the hardest lesson and the most necessary. My phone buzzes again. A different notification: the support group I joined 6 months ago, now one I help facilitate. 23 members, all learning to recognize manipulation, to value themselves above toxic relationships. Some still struggle with the concept that family can be chosen, built rather than inherited. On my counter sits a wrapped package tied with yellow ribbon. A mobile of handcrafted stars for nursery. Her baby shower invitation arrived last week, the first I've attended since Brooke's hastily organized event I never received an invitation to. This one feels different, genuine joy for a friend embarking on motherhood, untainted by manipulation or guilt. The weekend volunteer schedule for the women's shelter hangs on my refrigerator, teaching women to recognize the subtle signs I missed for years. Last month, Maria slipped a note into my hand before leaving for her new apartment. "You showed me I deserve better. You changed my life." I changed my own life first. The sunset paints Seattle's skyline in amber and rose as I step onto my balcony. My phone lights up with a text from Tara. "Dinner at 7? That new Thai place opened." Maple presses against my leg, her warmth steady and true. I rest my hand on her head, feeling the solid connection between us. Sometimes the most courageous thing isn't staying, it's knowing when to walk away. I tap a quick response to Tara, smiling as I watch the horizon glow.